Welcome back to Season 9, Episode 12 of the CHS Pulse. I'm your host, Spencer Darby, here with my co-host, Izzy Spagnolo. Today marks a historic Pulse moment.
We have a little change of scenery here, but we're making a huge comeback despite this long quarantine. We couldn't go this whole time without providing some Pulse content, so we got a great episode for you today.
Let's start with some updates. With the many changes that have taken place, there's been a lot going on with AP testing.
Let's take a closer look at what Mrs. Slate has to inform us about the new AP tests and what to expect.
Essentially, the exams are now 45 minutes. They're free response questions, and every exam that you're signed up for, you'll get an individual email from the College Board that gives you specific login credentials that gives you access to that test. You should be logging in 30 minutes before the start of the exam. So if your exam obviously starts at 12 p.m., you want to log in at 11:30 p.m. because there are a lot of security features that they are having you do and go through to avoid test integrity and help with cheating and that kind of stuff. So they want to make sure that that's emphasized. It is going to be open book, open note. So I think a good recommendation is to organize your notes and go through some things that you find to be important, or maybe some things you don't know super well and might need some extra help when you're testing to go through. So whether it is creating and organized notes using mind maps or outlines, writing in the margins of your notes or textbooks if you even have those, highlighting and those kind of things, because that will help you when you're timed. You can then quickly maybe scan information to help you. The biggest changes, obviously, it's the first time they're going online. And what I said in the last question, that they eliminated all of the multiple choice questions, and now the test is only 45 minutes. So it's much shorter, and it's the free response. And again, they're doing free response because it eliminates the ability for you to just Google an answer or ask someone their opinion. They've assured us that accommodations will still be applicable in the testing. Just gonna obviously look a little bit different, and it's gonna vary on the person. So for example, they gave, let's say you're a student who gets 50% extended time, your specific login for maybe your US history or APUSH exam, if you have that 50% time, your specific login will have that timing built into it. There is a makeup testing window. So the entire testing window for AP is now May 11th to May 22nd. The makeup is June 1st to June 5th. The one thing that's really important to emphasize though is, and the College Board emphasizes it too, is to avoid the makeup testing. And the reason being is if you don't test during the regular test date, you go for a makeup maybe on June 2nd. And if your internet is not working or their system crashes or something along those lines, you will not get another chance to test. These are like big questions, obviously at Chatham too. So if you have more questions, let me know.
Izzy, what are you doing?
Oh, sorry. I've just been painting a lot this quarantine.
Wow, that's really something else. But I think you could use a few tips from a real artist like Bob Ross. Let's switch it over to Joseph and Chris and see if they can help.
Welcome to the Friendship of Painting with me, Joe, and
Chris. I'm delighted to see you all tuning in today. Today, Joe and I will be giving you two unique perspectives on a common topic in the art world: human.
yes, and as we do, we will be giving our commentary on how to produce what we created in your own home.
Let's begin, shall we? The first and most important step is picking the right tools for the job. Today, I'll just be using some standard colored pencils.
Of course, we gotta have our I gotta drop one our pencils here.
For my painting today, I'll be using shining sea cyan, some golden yellow, some elegant emerald green, and of course a ravishing ruby red.
Tongs, a strainer, a wooden spoon, mixing pot, a pan.
Now, of course, the most important step of a human is the head.
Of course, we just want a nice, a general shape of the head here. We'll bake the rest in later. I mean,
Next, we'll want to move on to the eyes. They are the windows to the soul, you know.
of course, just adding little details, a little here, a little there. Oh, that's alright. It's alright. That's okay. Right here, it's egg. Perfect. That's right. I will cover it up with that, and then We'll smooth out the lines once it's baking later.
Of course, no human is complete without a mouth. Now, the mouth has some choices. Is your human happy, sad? Smile or frown will let us know. I'm gonna go with a smile for today.
Of course, how the head expresses itself is, it's really going to matter on how long we cook it in the oven, considering we already mixed the wet and dry ingredients. We're going to put this, that's not the pan. Oh, there it goes.
Next up, we're gonna need a nose. Otherwise, how's our friend gonna smell? Gosh, I don't know what I'd do if I couldn't smell. So many great things to smell. Cookies, roses, whatever Joe has in the oven. So, here's a nose.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Joe, you're wearing that mask because of the current pandemic. Well, you'd be mistaken. You see, the painting is currently in its most repulsive state of smell. So to protect myself, I'm gonna wear this mask and slowly slide it and make sure to...
Now, next up is one of my personal favorites, the hair. Now, the hair is one of my favorites because it allows for so much customization and personality. So you can be as detailed as you like. I'm gonna go with a nice blonde for the hair. So this is where we use our golden yellow.
Now you see, hair is a lot like spaghetti. Well, I mean, at least it looks like it. So I like to just throw in a couple strands, just a few. Oh, there go a few. That's all right. Happy little.
Now, just the finishing touches. And I'm not quite sure what went wrong here. Joe, does yours look all right?
Oh yes, quite.
Well, at least that's one of us. Anyway, thank you all again for joining us.
Have a great day and an even better tomorrow.
Bye-bye now.
Yeah, looks like I need to work on my painting skills a bit.
It's all right. At least you're not a hot mess in the kitchen like I am.
Well, I heard that Kat and Drew have been cooking up a storm in the kitchen, and with all this time on our hands, they've come up with some easy recipes for everyone to try during quarantine.
That sounds great. Let's take a look.
So during quarantine, it's really a good idea to pick up some hobbies like baking. So today I'm going to show you how to make banana bread, and you'll need half a cup of butter, 1 cup of sugar, 2 eggs, 3.5 like basically rotten bananas, 1.5 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of vanilla. First, preheat your oven to 350. And then you're going to want to soften the butter for about 20 to 25 seconds in the microwave, and then cream that together with a cup of sugar. So cream them together until they basically look like this. I do 3.5 bananas, and you want them to look like they're basically on death's doorstep. Then start to mash your bananas together. If they're softer, it helps a lot. Then combine these two into a bigger bowl. So after you've combined those two, you're gonna wanna add 1.5 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of vanilla. So after that's all mixed and combined really well, you're gonna wanna take your pan and then grease it and flour it really, really well. So the pan should look something like this, and it looks kind of gross, but it's better that it looks like this than the banana bread gets stuck in there. So now that everything's all done, just take the whisk out and you can pour your banana bread into the pan. See? Can you see the dough or whatever this is, the mixture? Oh yeah, nice. Then once it's all in there, you can just smooth it out to make sure it's all even in the pan and that it'll bake evenly. And then you can just take your loaf and then you'll put it in the oven for 55 minutes at 350 degrees. And it's done now. It's so beautiful. It smells delicious. Highly recommend. So now after the banana bread, we're gonna make some chocolate chip cookies without a mixer because I don't have a mixer. So first step is remove all the stuff from your oven and then preheat it to 350. So first you're gonna wanna cream together 1 cup of butter and 1 cup of white sugar and 1 cup of brown sugar. So then after that's creamed, you're gonna wanna beat in your eggs 1 egg at a time, stirring as you go, or beating as you go. So after you've beat in 2 eggs, add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and mix. Then dissolve 1 teaspoon of baking powder into 2 teaspoons of hot water. Add that to the mixture, and then add half a teaspoon of salt. Then you're gonna wanna whisk in 3 cups of flour and 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips. It should look hopefully something like this, and I sprinkled a little bit of salt on top because taste. And then you can put it in the oven for about 10 minutes, checking on them every so often, at 350, and they should be good. So the cookies are ready, and they actually ended up needing another like 3 minutes because they were so big, but this is what they look like. Beautiful. So if you're an amateur baker like me, I highly recommend these recipes. Very good, very easy and simple, and hope everyone enjoyed. Peace be with you.
Wow, I can't wait to try some of those.
That's it for episode 12 of The Pulse. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe.